There are five spikers, and at the time of lip syncing, a lot of rules were being banned in the world. I held them in distance that evening in particular. I held them in distance. I held them in distance. I held them in distance that evening in particular. A long read out the noise, or perhaps I picked that up sometime between 1997, 1995 and now from someone else, which makes sense in retrospect. As we learn all things from somewhere, surely nobody is born knowing how to stick. A pop factory of music from the same country as the Beatles, only 30 years. This modern band, I thought in 1995, were packaged in basement with the four of them. It was like Gen Z on TikTok. It was like Gen Z on TikTok and the TBT watcher of cô dâu 8 tuổi, very far removed. 18 boy band, 18 boy bands, 18 boy bands, very manufactured feeling. Even Vietnamese admits about British boy bands could never remember the name. Westlife, I think. Band has seemed to just spring up a second way that called everyone from 2 years after me, my brother, and the three neighbor girls in each shamanistic frequency. I was extremely disdainful even then, recognizing it as more celebrity worship, a wild craze by mostly young girls like a baby responding to Baby Shark song. But truth to be told, I was not much different with my own interest. I know all the strange stylistic of comic book heroes like Spider-Man and the X-Men, which is agreeably worse, as you cannot even learn to dance from that information. At the very least, or be social, which is the primary purpose of a young person to learn to get along. Wanna be my lover? I actually watched it again recently because of certain event that came into conversation one night on a rooftop surrounded by British people and other Canadians beside myself. A healthy young Canadian man named Body, who was my shield from the pomp and clamor of a bunch of happy British people gathering together. British people have a particular way of talking that I know lots of people love and admire. The type of people who claim they are sapiosexual are also among the type, and it shared the same root of self-marketing through cleverness, or simply the ego overriding the system. On this night, there was a blonde Russian woman who laughed and had perfect mannerism of a London woman until she told us her name was Anastasia. The British had surrounded Gordy, and I feel like it was during the America-British War in 1777 at the Battle of Saratoga. They were talking on the subject of news. Post spies and football player David Beckham, who I have vaguely known from the past, but who were still very rich in the world excluding mine. and especially at the center of the living room of these English people. I feel trapped and less impressed with their accent than many people who wish upon a star to be thus. I, as a Canadian, feel like a distant cousin, feel like a distant cousin to be English, but recently I feel more like my cousin is spoiled and needs a hockey match to humble his Sunday accents. But I do not say anything. And they are fascinating as they are fascinating people to me too, despite sometimes making me feel like a wild snow farmer. A woman with a full, rich, earthly laugh, a little loud but classy enough not to be obnoxious, was commenting on a particular side of the story. I feel lost, despite a polite way of speaking. I feel lost. I feel lost, despite the polite way. Despite their polite, I feel lost. Despite their polite way of speaking, still looking at me and gesturing toward me, smiling and trying to make me feel part of the conversation. Em nghĩ là lúc đó cả hai bên đều chưa thật sự hiểu nhau. Mọi chuyện đến hơi nhanh, cảm xúc thì nhiều nhưng sự lắng nghe lại chưa đủ. Và rồi cha mẹ của bác chưa kịp mở lòng, chưa đủ dịu dàng và bao dung để chào đón mọi người, để chào đón người con dâu mới của bước vào gia đình. The British also bet me they can make any conversation sound really smart. Sitting sitting there with their legs crossed in a manner with sitting there with his legs crossed in a manner I will never be flexible enough to imitate. One leg drooping like a withered flower over the other, chin stuck almost chin stuck out almost at a 90-degree angle, but raised just enough so you knew he was British, with extra emphasis on the accent related to his city, Blackpool. The Blackpool accent is Lancashire, Northwest England, which, like all British people, they feel the need to tell you when they enter a conversation, despite never paying 2 cents of attention when I say I'm from Murdoch, Ontario, Canada. They, in the art of banter, they, in the art of banter, a very British invention, had the rapt attention of the room. I remember my voice trying to pile up like a small smile. But since the extreme and terrible pressure of soon having children, I am no longer using beer as a tool to be extroverted, and my voice feels unheard beneath the nasal voice of a man who said, in rebuttal on the matter, maybe he was from somewhere, but I was not really interested, because I put very little stock in where someone is from and everything into what kind of person they are, generally just by their action. When it was a piece, a pish, posh mess up, then it was a piece posh mess up of British people talking, and though I consider the matter to be celebrity, and though I consider the matter to be celebrity worship, there was still something fascinating. The people thought on the matter, the nature instinct to take a side, even though the drama is like showing up at a traffic accident and establishing a guilty verdict from wild speculation based on what you heard someone who was never there gossip with their neighbor. Posed by what a Husband was a delivery mother, a self-professed control freak, and was losing her son after her husband was only nom- nominally there following a string of affairs. Did you hear about the dress? She canceled it. Really? How Machiavellian. How Machiavellian. I don't know how that's why. But there is actual evidence that Brooklyn fiance Nicolas Pels have prepared a dress, have prepared a dress 1 year in advance already. David Beckham's son Brooklyn, the reason of the film is because he dropped everything online like a spoiled brat. His parent is crazy. He needs to get free from them. It feels like a tired police officer at the end of his shift outside a drunken dispute. Everyone blaming each other, pointing to one single thing, and the whole space had shared table and everything toppled. It is the silliest argument I have not involved myself in for. It is the silliest argument. It is the silliest argument I have not involved myself in for quite a while. It's also true that goes hand in hand with fiction. To understand the problem, I turn all the real life celebrity into characters and imagine imagine a television series. Imagine a television imagine a television series, and it's become very clear why it is so popular. Two, two families from both born of two families both born out of very hard work from the bottom up. David Beckham and his skill in football, the Pale family growing a business empire, and the dropping of money and fame, the dropping of money and fame that inevitably come with it. A problem with the a problem with so many sides and facets that is like looking at hột vịt bắc thảo and wondering how they cook it, then learning that they use drywall and deciding it's easier just to eat it. It is like for the public loving their celebrity in the treasure second only to the royal family for many fame enjoyers. The surface of the water is the real image until one random person puts their finger on it and the ripple reveals it to be an illusion. And me, sitting with Gordy, to Snow Famer with practical ideas on survival because it is cold, having no opinion really. Having no opinion really, and not daring to throw our hats into the public and banter with the readers at their own game. But having been married at a wedding far enough from any Western custom, Vietnamese weddings are more fun in my opinion. I was I was thinking there must be something to take from this problem that nobody can really understand. No hard and fast rule. Fame make people insane. They still had the same rule for child rearing, but they still have the same rule for child rearing, just more intense and closer to impossible than what was already impossible. Do not raise your children in a way that make you dislike them. Always put the blame squarely on the parents. I see it as a circular circle. I am coming up behind my father, who is looking back to see that I am okay, and it keeps going up to the top like a water wheel. When my father is sinking, and I am slightly above him, watching as the internet play with his mind. I look back to see my child and make sure they are stable until I need them to do the same. and on and on. Raising your children in a way that makes sure you do not dislike them is difficult because it means fixing yourself too. Because it means fixing yourself too. Because they will be like you are. If you are a monster or some sort of if you are a monster of some sort and act out of turn at a wedding, a child could act in the same manner, thinking that is the way of the world, dumping things online. Dragging your affair publicity is a sure way of entire dynasty. Dragging your affair publicity is a, is a sure way of is a sure way for an entire dynasty built on imagination to come tumbling down, a many-sided strategy. Even if, even if you're raising your children to be well educated, you need a you need familial education too. Even if you are a king, you must understand that. And most young adults eventually learn. One of the most common lessons is that my parents are just people too, who make mistakes just like I do. This is interesting because it is one of the This is interesting because it is one of those historical lessons, like Alexander's mother telling him he was a legend even when he was young. And he went on to push back advancing barbarian hordes. Or in Vietnamese history, the tale of two Tayson brothers sending their armies to attack each other, agreeably marking the start of their downfall. Also, if your mother is acting crazy, she might be far worse later. It is just one of those things that can happen. I saw an example at a meeting with the I saw an example at a meeting with the British that night. A woman of adjacent British culture snapping angrily when someone was using their phone during conversation. There is a way to deal with things without ending relationship. Find a job in it. Find a job in it. Sitting there with Gordy, surrounded by British voices, spikers, Beckhams, accents, and opinions. Everything settled into a familiar pattern. Manufactured pop, celebrity worship, and public judgment are not new. They simply return in different forms, with sharper polish and louder attention. That once felt ridiculous to me is the 1990 now mirror my own past obsession and the way people still gather around stories that are not theirs. British banter makes the spectacle sound clever, but it does not make it more truthful. But it does not make it more truthful. At the center, now see, at the center, are still familiar. Parents and children caught in cycle of control, misunderstanding, and expectation. Fame does not change those rules. It only magnify the damage. Like hộp vịt Bắc Thảo, the process is complicated and opaque. Oh, I don't know this word. Opaque. 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 The process is The process is complicated, complicated and opaque, and sometimes it is better to observe quietly than to tear it open for display. I know I sound so bad right now. So bad right now. Oh, so bad. Really need to find a way to speaking better and smoothly. Eh, Impressive. I feel trapped and less impressive with their accent than many people